Okay, thank you very much for attending our video today on driving a people carrier. I've got Mr. Curtis with me to help answer any of the questions that we might have about the procedure, the process that we're going to take when we are using one of the people carriers. So the first thing I'd like to run through is Andy's responsibilities in this process. Before any member of staff even grabs the keys, Andy's done a lot of work behind the scenes. Andy's expected to valet the vehicles once per term, so that's washing, hoovering, cleaning them out inside thoroughly. But again, remember that's once per term, which means the obligation of the driver, the person using the vehicle, is to keep it clean and tidy throughout that process. Andy also maintains the petrol, the oil, the AdBlue, the tires, the wipers, and the washer fluid. So he maintains the levels on those. If there's anything that you notice, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but if there's any notifications on the dashboard that indicate that something's running low, you need to let him know straight away. He will keep up with that. We are not expecting anyone to pull any of the dipsticks or to be checking tire pressure or anything like that. And he also ensures the servicing, the inspections, the tax, the MOT on the vehicles, and the insurance. So there's quite a lot of responsibility in the legal aspect of the vehicles. And he also will ensure a swift repair of any of the faults that are reported to him. The other thing that he does is he ensures that the grab bag is correct, that there is a fire extinguisher, a first aid kit, and an emergency hammer in there. Now, real quick, Andy, I'm going to go to share screen and I'm going to share some of the photos of those items just so people know what we're referring to when we talk about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
So on the share screen now, I'm going to show a few of the photos that we have of different aspects of the vehicle. Okay. So when we talk about the grab bag, this is the object that we're referring to here. So again, it's got a number of things in it to help with the safety if there's a breakdown. If we have to get the children out, you know, God forbid, by the side of the road or whatever, and we have to get them safe and keep the vehicle safe as well, you've got things in there. I've taken a photo this morning of where the grab bag is in the back, in the boot of one of the people carriers. So again, it should be very easy to find. I've also got a photo of the first aid kit. Again, it says first aid on it. Should be really easy to find in the vehicle. And the other thing that I have is the brake hammer. So again, this object doesn't look like much, but it has a little pointed bit on this side here, which can be used to break a window. Obviously, it has a light as well. And really, we're talking about this being used in an absolute emergency. You know, trapped inside the vehicle, I don't know, submerged vehicle somehow. So we're talking about something that may be used in a 1 in a million chance, but they are in the vehicles, and Andy's sort of keeping up with that as part of his job pre-use of the vehicle. Cool. The second thing I'd like to talk about today is the booking of a people carrier. So you want to take a people carrier out, you have a trip in March 2024, you've gone through the paperwork with Claire and Patricia and I. You're going to take 22 year 4 pupils to Awesome Land in Coventry for the day. You need 3 people carriers for that. What do you do? So again, if I can just show, I have a photo of the area where the booking forms are kept. So again, if you can see my screen now, this is the area in Suzanne, Jody, and matron's office where the keys are kept. You can see on this left-hand side, I'll use my mouse here, that you've got all of the registration plates on the vehicles there. Andy, can you talk us through this form here on the wall, this thing that's hanging up on the clipboard? What's going on there?
That is the vehicle checking in the key and checking out the key. For when you take the vehicle out, you will be asked, as you can see, it's got the name of the driver to take the key, the time that you actually pick the key up from the office, and vehicle reg, which you will also find on the key ring itself, as well as on above where it's hooked.
Okay.
And it also asks you to fill the time in. It is meant for the driver of each vehicle to take the keys for their own vehicle, not group collection.
Cool. So this is kind of once you've already booked. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit there. The book that's up here is the booking, I suppose the record book, which you keep, but you have asked for people to fill in a slightly different form. So let me jump to that now. I'll take away that photo. I've got an extra picture of this. here, which hopefully we will be able to have a quick look at. Yeah, so the people carrier request form is the first thing that you would like for them to do. Are those going to be kept next to the book? So again,
Yes,
if I pull up the photo of the book, they're going to be up here on the shelf here where people can easily get them.
yes. Moving forward for next year, there will be an A4 diary. The pieces of paper that I require you to fill in as well will be A4 size. So they'll either be separate or in the front of the new diary that will be put there.
Okay,
But
brilliant.
as for now, they will be next to or just wedged into the smaller diary that we have.
Super. So if we look at the request form right now, obviously it's pretty self-explanatory. The name of the person booking, what's the booking for, location of outing, date required, and so on. So if we were to take my pretend example, we got 22 year fours going to Awesome Land. So again, it would be the name of the person, actually the group leader here. Then what's the booking for, a trip to Awesome Land, location, Coventry, date required. We would need to have all of this information in advance. It looks like here you're looking at separating the day into halves, or obviously the trip to Awesome Land is going to be an all-day thing. How many people carriers do you require? Well, I've determined I need 3, so maybe we would tick, tick, tick in there. How many car seats are required in the people carriers? So again, if let's say I had 2 of the people carriers where I needed 3 seats in them and 1 where I needed 0, how would you like me to manage that information?
But as you can see in line 7, we've requested how many car seats you would like. You could put, you would need the relevant amount in one people carrier and then put 1 PC underneath where you tick the required number and so on and so forth.
Okay.
With
So
how many
it's possible on this form, maybe we could extend this down to have 4 sections, and you could tick per people carrier. But again, this information is really valuable to you so that you can have advance notice on the number of people carriers required for the trip.
Yes.
Cool. You've also put some information down here that we have 3 people carriers which hold 8 and a driver, and we have 1 that holds 7 and a driver. And that will help us with that information when we are booking the seats for the people carriers.
Yeah, that'll give you an idea of how many you actually need to
Okay.
take out size-wise. As you stated, you needed 3. You could actually have gone with 2 8s and the 7-seater.
Yeah, absolutely.
You wouldn't have needed, but be mindful that if you are going on an all-day trip, you may need to be taking an extra member of staff with you. So you'll need to incorporate that into the booking and working out your seatings.
Sure. So once we filled out the request form, we place that inside of the diary.
Yes, you can put that inside the diary. That isn't a problem. Or I will speak to Susanna, see if I can get an in tray just for those.
Okay.
But my suggestion would be to provisionally book it in filling the form out, putting it into an in tray, just to make sure that there's availability when you're thinking of taking your trip.
Mm-hmm.
I can check that, then you can then confirm your booking of the trip and then fill the rest of the request form out.
Okay. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm hoping that people will be able to understand why we're doing that, because you're managing the vehicle fleet for the whole of the school. And obviously my trip is really important to me, but I might not know about the servicing the vehicles need. I might not know about the fact that we've got a fixture which has been booked since November or whatever going on. And so that just helps you to balance out that diary.
Yes, certainly. I mean, fixtures and games do tend to book very quickly. They do tend to do almost a term at a time. So if you're thinking of going next term, my suggestion is get in early.
Sure.
Check
Yeah,
availability before you actually book the trip.
sure. Okay, the next thing I'd like to do is to go through the checklist which is in the vehicle. So I've managed to secure the booking. I've notified you about the number of car seats that I need. I'm all set and ready to go. I get into the vehicle, and I'll go ahead and share my screen, make sure that we can see that item as well. Let me see if I'll minimize that. Okay. Let's go ahead and pull this up. So if we have a look at our booking form here, so I've sat down in the vehicle. Obviously, I've got the date that I've taken the journey, time. I mean, those things could be filled out in advance, my name, the school name, and so on. the number for the vehicle. And again, you've asked for real clarity on this in so much as this is to be done by the driver of the actual vehicle. So
Yes.
the trip leader will fill out a vehicle if they're driving one of them, but the other two drivers will have to fill out their own name and have their own information.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Is the odometer reading taken before the journey or at the end of the journey?
On this piece of paper, it's taken before you start the journey.
Okay, brilliant. When we look at this, there's been a few questions asked by staff about checking these things. So opening the bonnet, hooking up a reader for the battery to see if that's, going flat or whatever. And I just want to clarify with staff that is not, what we're asking people to do. Essentially, a lot of these are visual checks. I'll go ahead and pull up another photograph here. So this one here. A lot of these are visual checks which occur kind of at the moment that I turn the key. So as you see, I took this photo this morning. I have just turned the key. If all of these lights stayed on throughout my journey, I would have a serious problem. I mean, this is basically an explosion waiting to happen. But what should happen once you turn on the ignition, it generally lasts maybe for a second or two, is you get something that looks like this. So we can see from this vehicle that the readout from the computer in the vehicle is saying no, that there aren't any indications here that there's an issue. This vehicle is fine to drive. Is that your understanding of what you want people to do, Andy?
Yes, I mean, on there, as you read through, it should be pretty self-explanatory. You will get warning lights come up telling you that the oil level is low, the radiator fluid is low. Also, your temperature gauge will go up extortionately and very quickly.
Yeah.
So there are a lot more of the actual things that is being asked is not for you to, as you say, lift the bonnet. It is for you to visually check that there are no warning lights showing that would indicate that you are not safe to be driving the vehicle out of the school grounds.
Sure. I think that will help clarify things for people. If I go back to the form again, some of these things are visual checks. So I'm just seeing if there's a tire that's blatantly flat, I'm not putting a pressure gauge next to it. I'm just seeing that it's done. And obviously that vehicle wouldn't be, worth driving. I'd have to report that and come up with a plan B. If we look at the fire extinguisher, again, that's visual. The seatbelts, I'm looking, if the child's saying, I can't get my seatbelt on and we can't, just pull it and fix it. Again, that would be something that would prevent the journey unless we had obviously a spare seat. First aid kit, again, is visual. We can toot the horn before we get going. Always hilarious. Frightened Mr. J really badly the other day. So again, when we look at these are visual checks. We are not expecting anybody to open the bonnet or, get a rag and sort of grease the back of the, exhaust or whatever.
No, not at all. That's not what we're expecting. Like you say, it's all visual.
Cool. If we do have a defect, so I'm going to give you an example, Andy. I'm going to put you on the spot here, a little bit of a live problem. I drove one of the people carriers the other day, and the light for the engine check stayed on during my journey. Now, I wrote that down underneath this section here because that light stayed on. And now, obviously, that could be a faulty fuse, a faulty light, or it could be that it's an indication that there's something going on and that vehicle needs servicing or whatever. Would I write that here?
I actually can't see the form you're on about. If you can just show me where you are. If you are you on this section where it says report defects? In that section?
I thought I was sharing my screen.
No, sorry.
Hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yes, I can see your screen now.
Okay.
Yeah, you would fill in the report of any faults that you have found in the section where it states report faults and defects.
Right.
And damage here.
And then this is for you to fill out.
Yes.
Where you've assessed whether it's a light or a fuse or whether it is something that needs to be checked out.
Now, sorry, you carry on.
Obviously, if you then need to report that to someone, you would put their name here.
Yes.
I've found 99% of the time there aren't any faults, and I write nil in here, and then I sign the form as well.
Yes, that's correct. And also, if you do find a fault, e.g., let's say as an example, when you've started the engine, the add blue light comes on, or the word add blue, which will be in the center of the dashboard in the small screen.
Sure, I've got a dashboard here. I don't know if you can see it. Is it this
Yes.
item here down here on the right?
No, from it's not that to me from here looks like it's a pedal symbol. The screen where you've got your mileage,
Yep.
that would have the word add blue.
Okay. Okay.
Now, perhaps not a lot of you are aware, but you don't actually have to stop using the vehicle there and then. You get a certain amount of mileage or X amount of starts before the vehicle will automatically stop, in the fact it won't let you restart the vehicle.
Sure. Well,
That's the
essentially
only
what they look
indication.
to do on that then is to write it here, add blue light on or whatever.
Yes,
And
yes,
if that was to happen once, you would then fix the problem so that it
yes.
didn't happen again. Yeah.
That would be topped up. But what I would expect you to do, you wouldn't. I know it says a visual checklist. Some of these lights can come on once you've started moving. I'm fully aware of that. But what I would expect you to do is literally just put a cross where you had put the tick, and any dents or anything you see, just put a cross there. Don't tick it to say you've looked and then report a fault further down. Indicate in the actual checklist that you have found a fault.
Okay. Okay. Can we talk about this second form, which is in the vehicle, Andy? I know people are going to have to turn their heads sideways while they're watching the video.
Yeah.
This is a section 2 driver's log. Could you explain to me what we should do with this?
Right. You're going out on Wednesday, so you go to section Wednesday. You'd fill the vehicle registration in. You would put the start mileage in as you do with the vehicle checklist, and then you would put time going on duty, which would be the time you actually start to drive the vehicle.
Okay.
So you've picked the keys up, you've gone there, it's 10 past 8, you've done your checklist, it's taken you 10 minutes, it's now 20 past 8. So you would put 20 past 8 because that is the actual time you're going to be starting to move that vehicle. And that also would work in the fact if you're moving it from the back of the school where the vehicles are stored, even to the front of the school, because you are then on duty.
Okay.
Then you would go to your going off duty. Now, I've clarified this with Jonathan from Chatsworth. That would be if you're going on to your trip, once you got there, you would sign yourself off of being off duty. So that would be the time that you got there, you put there, and then the finish mileage. And then you would indicate time spent driving the vehicle from the school to the actual trip. Then you would put, when you came to come back, you would then fill in again underneath where you've done your first line. You would then put your start vehicle reg again, your start mileage, place you were starting from, which would be the trip site, and so you're on duty. Then when you got back to school, you would then again finish mileage and off duty. Otherwise, this comes into, I checked this with Jonathan, it's more, a lot of that is more for HGV drivers in the fact they have to have certain break periods, but it is legal form we have to have on our site and be filled in. That's why Jonathan's saying if you do the two separate journeys, it doesn't mean that you're on duty and actually driving or doing other related driving tasks and need a break after X amount of hours.
Okay, so it looks like under these days, it gives a really easy sense that you've got the outgoing journey on this line here, and then you've got the return journey just underneath on the same day. I suppose if there were multiple journeys going, I mean, let's say it was being used Wednesday morning there and back, and then again Wednesday afternoon, we'd have to come up with a plan for that. But essentially, most vehicles are used once per day at the most.
Yeah, I mean, you could even where you had your cursor a few moments ago, you could actually put your first line level with the word Wednesday, and then between the two little lines, you could then put your return and then use the little line again as your PM.
Sure.
For going out.
Okay.
I think looking at that, you actually have enough space to do that.
Okay. The last thing I'd like to talk about is returning the vehicle. I've taken a couple of photos of a vehicle that I had this morning. There is stuff in the front door here, which is staff rubbish. It is a big no-no having rubbish in the vehicles when we come back again. I suppose the pen's not rubbish, that's quite important, but we've got stuff here which has been left in the vehicle. You know, as a team, we are taking these vehicles out, bringing them back. We have to keep them in good condition, because if we think that they're being valeted once a term, the obligation is on the people who are using them to keep them neat and tidy during that time.
Yes.
Okay. How would you like the vehicles to be left? I mean, is it always parking them in the back? If we leave a vehicle in the front car park, how would you like us to manage that?
The front car park is not ideal because we are not secure. And as we are at the moment, we are very cut off from the public highway in the fact you leave the vehicles out the front in the front car park. Someone does a drive through at night. It's happened. I've seen cars parked in the school grounds at night time.
Mm-hmm.
We could lose the vehicles. It would cause us a lot of hassle. We could also have them set on fire. I preferably will prefer them parked either through in the gravel section at the very, very back of the school past the kitchen.
Yep.
If you can't get them in, all of them in there, then I totally agree they should be parked in the tarmac area before you enter the gravel area. And that be parked on the right-hand side against the kitchen wall. But there is a little bit of a system at the moment I've come up with that if bus one pulls into the car park and swings over to the left, they should then be able to back up into a single position on the right side behind them. Bus two pulls in quite close to the new shed that's been erected. And then bus three would pull in to the right of that bus. Ideally, then the single bus on its own would drive out. Second bus in would drive reverse up, drive out, and then the third bus would back up into the backing up space that's been created by the first vehicle leaving.
Okay. And then obviously we bring the keys back. We put them back on the rack underneath the correct name. We sign out on the sheet, which you already discussed with us. So we're signing the keys in and out. Can I leave anything in the vehicle overnight, Andy? Is that something we're doing?
It is not ideal to do that because, as some of you are aware, some of our trips do go out quite early in the morning. And if you've started to think, right, well, I go out every 2 days and I can leave my sports equipment, I can leave my bike, for argument's sake, in the back. It's not fair on us as the maintenance team to be running around first thing in the morning trying to get stuff put back away. It's not a mobile shed for stuff to be stored. It's only fair. Also, if there's a trip gone out and we have to suddenly go out because there's been an accident or something else has happened, and we have to go out as a completely separate vehicle that isn't booked, we're going to need to be able to grab and go without having to worry about emptying out because we haven't got space in the boot to put car seats or whatever we may need with us.
Okay. I'll just do a quick summary, I think, of the process, really. We've got our form, which we fill out in order to book the vehicle. We keep the form inside. I don't know if I can move this photo at all, but we keep the form inside the log out book, which is here on the shelf. It's underneath these items here. And then obviously, once we've got that booking and we're on the day, we come and get the keys, we sign them out, we fill out the form for the daily check. We fill out our driver's log as well. And then when we bring it back, again, we're bringing it back to sign the keys back in. We leave the vehicle locked and in a clean state, and we're good to go. I think when I look at this process, Andy, there's going to be some people who are going to say, we used to just grab some keys and go. This is all very arduous. I think from our point of view, we've had a little bit more time to kind of process the idea that really, when we're risk assessing this, when we're planning for the worst case scenario. We're planning for, a hurricane. We're planning for, the unforeseen things rather than just kind of getting lucky every time. So I hope that people will buy into that. I think it's very, very important that we follow these procedures. It's in our policy. So if we're not following the procedures, we're breaking the policy, which obviously is an issue as far as staff discipline and keeping the school, going in the right direction. But B, it makes our insurance invalid. And that's probably even more significant. So we need to make sure that we're looking at this. If people have questions, because obviously this video is not confusing to you and I, we do this all the time. But if people are never doing this and they're not sure about things, can they come and see you and ask questions?
Totally. I don't have any issues. I'm always up for it. As I said, if you look on the actual booking form, it has actually got my email address and my phone number. So if you're unsure when even booking it or considering doing a trip, just give me a ring, catch me in school. I'll go through it with you. I don't have a problem.
Okay. All right. That's brilliant. Thanks, Andy. I hope that helps. If it doesn't, obviously come and see Andy. But if you're going to be driving one of the vehicles, make sure you're doing your best to follow the procedures. Thank you very much, Mr. Curtis.
No problem,
All right.
Mr. Smith. Thank you very
All right.
much.
Thank you.